And welcome to everyone for the webinar today. So you're going to be with me for the next 40 minutes or so. And we're going to be talking about a very exciting topic. MBA degrees are changing as we speak, and companies are going digital. So there's a lot of information that is going to be important for you for the next half an hour or so if you're planning to do an MBA. So the agenda for today, I'll just run through what we're going to do in this session. Let's talk briefly about what traditional MBA has been for the last century or so, and then how enterprises have changed recently, and how strategy is now more of what information businesses can use, and how all of this is affecting the education ecosystem in India and globally. So, and that is resulting in a very new kind of an MBA that is emerging, and it's leading to various new career paths. So if you're really looking at an MBA program, or if you're planning to do one in the near future, this session is going to help you get some little perspectives on what kind of MBAs we are looking for in the future. So if you're good to go, then you can post your comments on the Q&A session, so I'll be taking that as well as we go through, so we can make it more interactive. So I'm going to start straight with the traditional view of what management education has been. I think most of you would know that for the last 100 years or so, we have seen management emerging as a science, and there are many people who argue that it's also an art, and there's a definition of a manager who needs to have a good balance between the science and art. So what MBA programs in top universities have done is to primarily equip the managers with certain skills and knowledge, and that has created professionals out of them. And just like doctors and engineers, you now have managers also calling themselves as professionals, compared to much earlier where we were looking at managers as someone who owns the business and runs the business. But nowadays there's clear separation between the owners and the people who manage the business. So typical MBA programs have, over the years, enabled the managers to practice various functions, whether it's finance or marketing. So there's specialized functions in which managers put their practice into place. And the other side is the leadership side, where managers are expected to lead people, lead organizations, achieve goals, set visions and missions, and achieve high targets and become successful in the industry. So this has somehow been an aspiration for the youth. So it fulfills a lot of people who would normally start their careers at the entry level. The management career gives them this aspiration that they can lead an organization and become a major impact in the society and in the country. So the curriculum of most management programs have covered mainly the general management in the first year, and then they go into specialist subjects in the second year. So this has been the typical format that has emerged in the last 100 years. And this has worked very well for industries. So top companies come to MBA programs and colleges and hire candidates. And this is how they do it. So this is the way in which the traditional management has gone on for so many years. Now, what has changed since then, and why this no longer works? Or do we need to look at something else that is giving enough results for us? That is something that we're going to do in this session and try and see if this traditional management is adequate or if any new changes are needed to this. So let's just walk you through with what has really changed. So when we talk about today's business environment, if you just are a good leader and if you have some management skills and you can manage your money and people, it is no longer seen as adequate to remain competitive. So businesses today are looking at much more and beyond the basic leadership qualities and basic management skills. So what is it that will make them competitive? So there's one major thing that's happened in the last 20 years or so, and that is the information revolution. So we now have gadgets and technology and computers and systems that drive businesses today. So the companies or the firms that have good information about their customers, perfect information about their suppliers, information on competition, on capital markets, information about whom they can hire, what the labor market is like, who's innovating what products. It is that information that helps them to become competitive. So information has in fact become part of that strategic asset that companies are now looking at. And this has been the major change compared to the traditional businesses. So it's no longer just leadership and a few skills here and there, but it is the understanding and usage of information that's going to give the enterprises to do well. So what is this information and why has it become so important? So information can come in different forms. So you have at the basic level structured information, information which is given to you as data, simple basic information business, which is more like how much sales we did and what are our profits for the year, and how much assets we have, how many employees the business has. The basic information, basic data level structured information. This is one form of it. Another form is a semi-structured where the managers are expected to use this information that they have and take some decisions out of them. Or they may have to do some analysis, they may have to do some comparison. So those are kind of semi-structured information that you have today in business. And at the higher level, you have information which is unstructured, which means the managers will have to spend more time in analysis, and the data is not that clear, and it's not that evident to start off with. So looking at this kind of a pyramid structure, you can quite easily look at information now as a strategy that's going to help you gain that competitive advantage. So it is the most prized today, and it's become more important than people, or more important than material. So the traditional businesses, whoever has control over resources, men, material, and labor, and they would do well in business. But today, there's one more addition to those sources, and that is information. So firms that can manage this variety of information will be the ones that will be able to compete. And that's a no-brainer, because the ones who have a good control over unstructured and semi-structured and structured information automatically gain competitiveness in the market. So businesses are looking at managers who can do this for them. And the traditional MBAs have so far not been able to focus on providing these specific skills, which we will come to later in the presentation. So what is this digital enterprise that we're talking about? So digital enterprise is a firm that can build systems that can go and collect information and gather data about all the things that affect their business, and then have the ability to store all this information using a computer system or a server or a cloud, and then quickly and accurately process and analyze all this information and be able to take quick and smart decisions. And for that, you need good reports. You need your systems to be able to deliver and present the information that's collected, and then execute these business models using appropriate technology and tools. And that gives you the success in today's business. And any business that's able to do this can be termed as a digital enterprise. So more and more companies, not just the big companies, but even the startups, are getting into this kind of a business where they're able to get a huge competitive advantage even as a startup just because they have a good control over their information and they've got their systems in place. So this is the kind of enterprise that is going to be the future, and it's already happening around the world. And even in India, we see a rise of various enterprises that, whether it's small or big or medium, having some sort of a digital content in their business models. So the question is now for modern managers, are they able to stand up and deliver to suit this digital enterprise? So where, how, and what information can business managers utilize? Where can they gain these skills? And where can they get this knowledge about using this information so that they can manage their business as well? Is there a need to study any specific information systems to gain these skills? Do managers need to be technically savvy to achieve success in managing the business? So these are the questions that managers are confronted with today. And so what we're seeing is that when companies are not able to deliver, or when they fail, or when they're not able to compete, the information becomes a key asset. And then managers who are able to use these assets well, they are the ones who can do well in the business. So we are looking at these very specific questions, and we'll go deep into this one by one. So where do we get information from? So information can be got from internal sources. So you can get information from your own systems, from your past data. So you have your sales data coming from your invoices. Your customers are giving you feedback. So all of these are good points of data points where you can get information from. So what happens after you collect this information? So where does it go? And do we have enough server capacity? Do we have databases? Do we have people who can manage volumes of data? So this is another emerging question. And managers who are running businesses that run out of large data will have to have some skills in managing this data. So that is one. The next is, where do we study this? So if you're a young entrepreneur or if you're planning to do an MBA, where do you get this program, any specific certification, any specific courses that can help in learning all of these skills? So this is going to be the focus of our session today. Let's look at what kind of education we have right now and what's happened in the recent times. And do we have the ecosystem to be able to deliver this information-based management education? So let's start with the top universities in the world. So whether it's a Harvard or a Stanford or an MIT, they all have wonderful engineering and science faculties. And their focus has mainly been on processing computer language. So they teach you how to program, how to code, and how to write simple logic. Then you also have them training you on administering databases. How do you manipulate and analyze volumes of data? How do you store them? And the other side is the telecommunication network, which is a major focus of these engineering and science faculties. So with the boom in the mobile phone markets and the boom in all telecommunication networks around the world, there is a, I think I'm getting an echo. Yeah, that's fine. So the telecommunication networks is another major sector where these top universities are training their students on. So what has these courses given? These courses have basically produced good, talented technical professionals. Now, technical professionals don't have any management skills. They're not able to manage the technology, and they're not able to manipulate and analyze and make good use of the information that they're processing. So they've just turned out to be good engineers, good software professionals, but they've failed to become managers. So this has created a gap in the industry, because what industry is looking for is for qualified professionals who understand technology and who are comfortable with crunching all the information, and at the same time have good management skills to be able to make use of all of this information and get a competitive advantage. So this is one type of the global universities who are engaged in this. So that's one part of the ecosystem. What we saw later, probably in the mid-90s when the internet boom and e-commerce boom happened in the West, is a lot of training institutes set up facilities in street corners. And they offer an alternate program, which is a non-university program. And they normally operated out of city campuses, which were primarily job-oriented. And these courses were not necessarily accredited by any university, but they kind of filled the need of the industry at that particular time. And most of these institutes used to give us certification. And these certifications had a bit of an ad hoc curriculum, and their delivery was a bit inconsistent, so they would not have the rigor of the university program, and at the same time, their delivery would be differing, because they would get visiting faculties, and each one would be teaching their own way, so they didn't have a standard, consistent pedagogy. So while these training institutes did well in terms of catering to the immediate requirement of the industry, from a long-term point of view, they were not knowledge centers, and because the curriculum was not designed in such a way that it brings new knowledge, or brings out innovation, and helps academic research. So there's a constant clash between the university programs and these ad hoc training institutes. This is how the ecosystem for education in the technology field evolved. Recently, we've also seen that this kind of problem that existed has been overcome in certain ways. And educational institutes and colleges around the world have innovated, and they've now started providing short courses for commercially oriented, or for entrepreneurs, or for managers to be able to do short courses in the field of ERP, which is enterprise resource planning, or it could be digital media with all these Twitters and Facebooks becoming big, the social media, the online strategy, web analytics. If you take Google today, they process so much of information just with the search engine. So that's become an independent field of its own. And marketing today is now more online, it's more digital, and it's using search engine. So diploma programs for those who are looking for quick and easy qualifications. So colleges have provided this particular innovation by bringing together the challenges or the gaps that were there between the university and the ad hoc training institutes. So it's kind of a blend between the two, and this results in a diploma program being launched. The other thing that industry started doing was to come up with industry certification. They said we don't rely on any institute or any college, so we ourselves are going to train our professionals. So industry came together in terms of associations. So each industry would have its own association, and they would provide skill training programs, hire people from colleges, and then train them. And out of this, we have seen various specialist disciplines emerging. So an example would be a project management institute. It's a professional body where project managers from the industry have come together, formed a body of knowledge, and then offer a course, a very well-designed curriculum and a certification which would be recognized by all in the industry. So similar disciplines have emerged in the field of information systems management. So we have ITIL, which is IT Infrastructure Library, which is offering courses that enable very high quality and recognized qualifications. So this sort of is where we are today. So on one side we have the premier global universities, which focus mainly on core technology and innovation. And at the lower end, we have the training institutes, which give you a short-term training program, just helps you get a few skills here and there. And then you have the colleges, which is the third one. And these colleges offer diplomas and short courses in technology field. And the fourth player is the industry certifiers. So these are people who have formed an association and they deliver certified courses recognized by the industry. So given this ecosystem, we still have challenges. And what are those challenges? The value of these courses is questionable. And today students are figuring out, after coming out of these courses, that they're not able to build a career out of these courses. And the questions are now that, are these courses really good? And this is something that students who are coming out of college will have in their minds, that is there a value in just doing a 3-month program or a 1-year program? Is that going to be worth it? Well, it might be worth it. It largely depends on what you're trying to do in your career. So from a professional point of view, all these courses and diplomas are not really needed in the sense that they're not compulsory. It's not a basic entry criteria to be successful in managing an enterprise. But it might be useful if you're just looking as an additional skill. So managers who've done a good MBA and then getting these courses could help them to manage a digital enterprise. The other aspect to this is the courses and diplomas have not yet become commonplace enough, and they don't have the same prestige as a formal MBA degree or any master's degree, which involves a lot of academic rigor. So based on this, we can still say that there is a lot to be done in terms of providing management education for the new digital enterprise. So are we talking of a new MBA altogether, or is it something else? So one thing is very clear, that it's only the MBA program that creates top managers who can lead organizations to its goals. We're not talking the entrepreneurs and the startups who, like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, who quit college and started. We're not talking about that. We're talking professional managers who can come in to large organizations and manage those organizations. So what do they need in terms of specific skills? So integrating the technology studies and their knowledge in information systems into the MBA program is what is going to work for the future. So if we get an MBA program with all its prestige and its recognition and its formal nature of its degree being awarded from the universities, we can combine that with the technology studies and the knowledge that's needed to be able to do justice to modern businesses. That would be the need of the hour. So along with traditional specializations, now MBAs need to offer and focus more on providing a platform for IT and information systems to flourish. So the marketing and operations and finance and HR, these are the regular specializations that are being offered. Now, along with this, if a specialization in IT and IS is being offered, then that MBA would have more of a value and more relevance in managing today's digital enterprise. So what would such an MBA look like? So are we just talking of a few courses in IT, or is it something more? So let's look into the MBA in ITIS. So what is our expectation from such a program? The first expectation would be that managers are able to apply some of the knowledge in IT and IS when they go out and manage these organizations. The application of IT as a support function, supporting the main operations of any organization, is the specialization offered by the information systems management. Now, to give you an example, if you look at an accountant, someone who is very good in accounting, who can crunch numbers, who knows his debits and credits, but at the end of the day, he has to finally use some system. Use a system like a Tally or an SAP or any system to be able to first analyze the accounting information and pull out reports and be able to present the accounting information. Or let's take the example of a marketing professional. So a marketing professional still has to work on his targets. He has to know about his customers. Now imagine if you have a system which gives you all information about customers. If you know what your customers' tastes and preferences are, what are they buying every day. So that kind of an information is very useful for a marketing or a branding professional. So you need systems there. So the point I'm making is that along with the basic functionality and the functional knowledge, you also need the information systems knowledge to be successful in today's world. The next level that we're looking at is managing resources. So whether it's people or money, capital, or material, in all of these functions, you need to be able to use and manage them through their information systems. So if you're dealing with raw materials, you need to have information about where these raw materials are available, who are the suppliers for delivering these raw materials, and what kind of lead times are needed from the time you order these raw materials until it reaches your factory or your loadouts. So that is purely information. So professionals who are in that field would need to know, have the material knowledge, and at the same time they must have the knowledge and skill as to how to use the information so that they're able to manage their resources well. Same with the finance. So if you're raising capital, there are a lot of avenues where the finance can use systems to analyze what would be the best net present value, or do we get good return on investments. So all these calculations require complex systems because they are no longer simple in today's world. Same with the labor. I think most of the recruitment today happens online with the Naukri.com and the various other versions. You have people now sourcing their HR purely online, which used to be a pain once upon a time to run a payroll. Running a payroll used to take almost a month. And today, using systems, you can run a payroll within the same day, making sure that everyone gets their salaries on time. So all of these at the functional level, these systems play a big role. So what would the specialization in information systems include if you're really studying, and if it's going to be a 2-year program in an MBA? So what would really be there in that curriculum, and how is it so different from a certification or a diploma program? So that's a point that I want to delve into. So if you look at a typical diploma program or a certification, the information systems, or you're possibly learning one programming language, or you're maybe learning how to use a specific system or a specific software. Whereas in an MBA program, you're not just learning a particular software, but you're learning the basics of management and all the functions of management. And then also, added to that, you're getting the knowledge on how to use this software and how to use technology along with your functional knowledge. So that is what we're talking about in terms of an MBA. So a simple comparison of what a short course would have versus what an MBA specialized in IT would have. So training institutes offering certification programs simply help a professional gaining skills in developing a system or to just use a particular software. Whereas an MBA specialization in IT will cover all kinds of areas like application of systems and management functions that will help you in decision making, in planning, in controlling, and various other management aspects. So that is the primary difference between the two. So I would just like to pause a little bit here and spend some time on what a modern digital enterprise is characterized with. So how does a modern company look like? So from morning to evening, if you're working in modern firms, what would you be doing? Almost all communications happen using some form of technology, whether it's a mobile device, or maybe a Google Hangout like what we're doing now, or this is how communication is happening. So you no longer have those old systems. So we have use of technology today in most of the communications. And any management school will teach you that communications is important for a business to succeed. Not just communications, but every transaction these days are now digital. So even paying your taxes and filing your returns, everything is done online. And this is very important because this is the source of all the data that's coming into your business systems. The transactions. A simple transaction like raising an invoice to record your sales or recording payments that you make to your suppliers or the cash that you receive from your customers. All kinds of business transactions are nowadays recorded digitally. And we have very advanced systems being used like barcode readers and RFID and to get the transactions into your systems. So this is an area that digital enterprises are growing, and this is advancing as we speak every day. The third function that a digital enterprise will characterize is various reports. If you're a manager in today's firms, you're more likely to spend time reading reports. If you ask a manager, middle-level manager in any firm, what do they do from morning to evening? It's reading reports. They're looking at all kinds of reports that come out of the system. And these reports have to be sorted out, and we need to look at how to use and read these reports and make sense of them and make important decisions out of them. The fourth dimension that characterizes today's enterprise is managing the customer relationship. So we had a wave in the 1980s and 90s where all managers were told that customer is the king, and the whole business is existing only because of customers. So how are modern enterprises managing their customer relationship today? So you just call a 121 number these days to get in touch with your company. So that's how easy it has become with the proliferation of various digital media. So there are call centers that are set up, and there are customer relationship management software that gives you every little data about your customer. And that's how you manage your relationship. So this is another very critical and important character of the modern digital enterprise. At the higher level of management, it's not just restricted to transactions and analyzing the information that's given by the systems, but also being able to expertly take decisions on the future. So forecasting. Forecasting is now made easy simply because of the complexity of the systems and the ability to use statistical software and highly programmed software to be able to forecast things. Forecasting about your sales, forecasting about delivery times to your customers, forecasting about what the demand would be, forecasting your own inventory. So all of these require master records and large databases which need to be managed. So this is another character of the digital enterprise. So the point I'm making is that if the MBA programs are not equipped to teach all of these aspects, then the managers that they produce will not be modern enough to manage the modern enterprise. So that's the bigger point over here. And with the proliferation of all of these technologies and devices, they're getting thinner and smarter and smaller. At the same time, the data has been growing from kilobytes to megabytes to gigabytes. And the access to internet is also widening. So there was a time when just 4% of the Indian population had access to internet. Today it's about 30 to 40%. And this is only going to grow with the proliferation of technology. Social media is growing. People are now connected to the world like never before. And that has to be development to manage. Modern managers have to be equipped with all of this knowledge, and they must know how to use all of this technology and build the ability to succeed in today's enterprises. So let's come to the real thing now. So what is the net for the students? So how does an MBA student benefit from learning all this technology and doing an MBA with an IT specialization? How do they benefit, and where do they end up after this? So this is the core part of our presentation. And we've seen in the recent past that an MBA which is well integrated with information systems and technology and how to manage information systems, there we find that it will help the student who passes out of such an MBA to develop specific skills and credentials to be able to deliver in the workplace. The other major gain is that it will help in focusing on competencies that are directly relevant to the workplace. So this is happening as we speak, and I've been on the panels of various recruitment companies and also top companies which are into technology like IBM, PwC, and Accenture. What they're looking for today is that they want candidates to be equipped with all of this even before they come in. 10 years ago, this was not the case. I remember that IBM used to hire freshers from the campuses and then train them over a period of 6 months to 8 months on various technologies because they're needed for them to be able to deliver in their businesses. And then you would find that these candidates would quit their jobs. They would just leave, and because now they have a new qualification and their market rates have gone up. So they would simply just gain all of this knowledge and skill, get trained, and then quit the job and join a competitor. So this was not really working for the companies. So what they've now done is they don't want candidates who do not have these skills, because they don't want to spend time training all of these people. So they expect an MBA to have these skills even before they come in. So it's a very simple equation. So you have one candidate with an MBA, another candidate with MBA plus some technical skills. It's very obvious that the MBA with the technical skill is going to get the job. So this is no longer a debate. It's become a basic requirement. So what kind of roles will MBAs in IT systems, where will they end up? CIO is one of those top jobs that you're looking at. So you'll be the top executive, but it may not happen at the beginning of your career, but certainly with more experience, the CIO role is seen as one of the most lucrative roles in today's firms. At the middle level, there are plenty of jobs as systems managers, with more and more outsourcing of technology happening. You need managers to manage the outsourcing contracts. So large companies are now hiring systems managers who can manage all these outsourced IT contracts and give a strategic direction to the companies and use their IT systems efficiently. The third role is the business systems analyst. So there was a time when computer programmers were in high demand, and there still are, but they never understood the business language. They didn't know what they were really coding for. So they were very good with their programming and their coding, but they really lacked the knowledge of where all the software was ending up. So that was one of those gaps. And on the other side, you had functionally experts and business experts, but they didn't know the programming language. So they were unable to communicate what really they were looking for from the IT team. So there was a gap here. So you have business and functional people on one side and the programmers on the other side, and there was nobody to bridge this gap. So new roles like business systems analyst emerged to fill this specific challenge, to fill up this specific gap. And this is in very high demand. So people with a bit of business knowledge and a bit of a technical knowledge, they're the ones most sorted off. They call them techno-functional in the big companies. And this is the kind of role that we're looking at. There are certification programs of this, and many MBA programs have included the systems analyst role into their curriculums. The third or the fourth one is your IT services managers. So these are people who take care of the hardware and the servers and system administration, and they're normally guided by best practices of the companies, and they're part of the IT governance structure. So services managers are seen as very vital functional role in today's companies. What will these service managers do? They will be managing the development projects, or they will be controlling and maintaining the systems, and making sure that there is enough security for systems, and the bugs are being fixed for these systems, and enhancements and upgrades are regularly done for these systems. So that is another major role that's available for managers in the IT function. Another one we have, the most popular one, is the project manager role. So because most IT development happens based on projects. So projects have become an important method or to use to be able to manage the IT systems. Because there's plenty of development work, and people want things to be done within time and within budget, and at the same time manage the team and manage the scope of the projects. So you need dedicated project managers to be able to develop and deliver IT systems. And this is a major career role, career path. Most software engineers end up becoming project managers in a few years' time. And this is how typically the IT organizations have evolved. But there is a challenge in that, because most software engineers do not have management skills. And just promoting them based on experience or their seniority doesn't really result in a successful project. So you need dedicated project managers who understand IT and who understand management to be able to deliver successful projects. And another role that's becoming very popular these days is digital marketing heads. So the traditional marketing managers are now challenged with the lack of skill in the digital world. And a lot of research and statistics in recent times have shown that a lot of marketing is happening online. The interaction with customers and with prospects are happening through social media and digital platform. So a simple example would be, if you want to know who is buying your products, you would probably go and ask Google, what are people searching for? That might give you the answers. So marketing heads are now required to have this kind of knowledge. Many companies are having dedicated departments for digital marketing, and MBAs with this kind of knowledge can head and lead these kind of departments. Another sector related to digital marketing is the analytics, an area where we're looking at very top management input, which is going to be from the database systems. And to enable top managers to analyze what kind of data they have in their business, you need systems again. So this is another typical kind of a career path that if you're into database management, you would move towards becoming an analytics manager. So these are some of the examples of how one can build a career using an MBA which is specialized in information systems management. So we're nearing the end of this session now, and before we conclude, I have a couple of major points and takeaways. I know that we could keep going on with more and more into this, but this is just an introduction kind of a session which gives you a perspective on what to expect from an MBA that is specialized in IT systems. So what are my takeaways from this for all of you listening here? Is that information systems, technology, and business management, all of them come together, and in a specialization that is focused on this particular area, it serves two purposes. One, the use of systems to solve business problems. That's one way to approach information systems. That we look at business problems and then we say that we're using technology to solve some business problem. So technology is not an isolation of the business. In fact, it is very much integrated with the business, and it is a problem solver. So if you're a manager or a leader who is into management functions, you are looking at solving problems, because if there are no problems in the business, you don't need managers. So managers are needed only to solve problems, and information systems enables and is probably a solution to many of the problems. The second purpose that an MBA in IT would serve is that the management of the technology, whether it is in developing new products or innovating new business models, and managing the functions of the entire enterprise. That would be another purpose that this kind of an MBA would serve. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that professionals with an MBA in IT or IS will possess a solid mix of business and technical knowledge, and that would address all the needs of this growing digital enterprise, and we're seeing this happening right in front of us with all the proliferation of technology and software. So with that, I would like to conclude my lecture, and if any of you have any questions, I would be willing to take that.
Yeah. Dear attendees, can you ask any questions regarding this topic? Yeah, I think no questions in this chatting box. Yeah, okay. So far, no one asked about any doubt on this topic. So.
Okay. Yeah, it can also be done offline. So if this video is going to be put out on YouTube or any other distribution method,
Yes.
you take that offline.
Yes, sir.